This hair down thing is probably gonna last like less than a minute because it is too fucking hot for that. Also, just a little pan pride flag moment going. I was aiming for a drag queen, but I think I probably look closer to a clown. But I did try, so you're welcome. Well, hello there, welcome back. Today I'm here with a very special video for me. I am gonna recommend to you 10 books, 10-ish books with pansexual main characters. I just often see people looking for pansexual book recommendations, and I often look for them myself. And they are really hard to find, and they are especially hard to narrow down because it's not always that the word pansexual is used on page. Sometimes people just go off of a very vague description of a sexuality that is in the text and might apply to various sexualities. So the criteria that I'm using for this video is that either the word pansexual has to be on page and/or the author of the book said that the character was pansexual. And I am gonna clarify for each book what is the situation there, if that makes sense. You'll understand it when I start. I'm gonna try not to go super in depth into the plot and the characters of each of the books, just to keep it short and sweet, but we're gonna see if that works out, because you know I do tend to talk a lot, I do be rambling. So the first book is From Scratch by Katrina Jackson, and this one I have a vlog for, which I'm gonna leave somewhere here, up here, somewhere. It's a contemporary romance. It's MMF, so a triad, a throuple between two guys and a woman. And one of the male main characters, Santos, is actually pansexual according to the author. He does describe his sexuality on page, but he does not use the label pansexual, which Katrina Jackson later on says that she actually regrets. But yeah, he is pansexual, but the word is not on page. So many fucking airplanes today, what the fuck is going on? All of the three main characters are POC too. This takes place in Seaport, which is, and I quote, a tiny southern town on the verge of collapse looking to entice people to move to the middle of nowhere and start life anew. And our three main characters just happen to be such people. Mary leaves her failed academic career behind and goes to the town to open a bakery. And the two guys are veterans, which, if you know anything about me, I'm not about that. No me gusta. Just a side note, one of my main pet peeves is reading a romance, any book really, but especially a romance, and then I just feel blindsided by the fact that the love interest is a veteran, because like it's not mentioned anywhere in the synopsis or anything like that. So I'm just reading and boom, a war veteran. I'm tweaking. Yeah. Anyway, the two guys met in the army and became friends, and they are also moving to the tiny southern town to be one of them is going to be a police chief, which also and the other is going to be a firefighter. Yeah, the two of them meet Mary and they are very attracted to her, and she makes it clear that she doesn't want to be with only one of them. You know, she wants to fuck the two of them, which good for her. But she not only reciprocates their affections, she also enlightens them to the fact that they might actually be interested in each other too. It's overall a very fun and smutty and low angst story, so if any of that catches your attention, read it. The second book that I have to recommend to you is True Love Bites by Joy D'Amore. It's again a MMF romance, but this one is a fantasy romance. And the cicadas are growing crazy. According to the author, all three of the main characters are M-spec, so in the multiple attraction spectrum. Ursula, the female main character, is pan, and Vlad is bi-pan. Because again, if you remember what I said in the Pansexual reading vlog, the term pansexual is a little open to interpretation. A lot of people think it's the same thing as bisexuality. A lot of people think it's under the umbrella of bisexuality. I tend to think more like this, just because so many experiences between bi and pan people are so similar, sometimes even interchangeable, and other people think the two are completely different things, and that's that. The definition of bisexuality that I usually go to is kind of the same as M-spec. So, you know, a person who's attracted to the same and other genders, so like two or more genders. And then pansexuality, in my opinion, is under the umbrella of bisexuality, and to me it's like the gender of a person doesn't play a factor at all into whether or not I'm attracted to them. It's not that I don't see gender, you know, like the gender equivalent of a colorblind person. No, it's not that I don't see gender or that I reject people's gender identity or anything like that. It's just that that doesn't play a single factor into my attraction to people. So anyway, that's what Joy, the author, says the sexualities of the characters are. This is a very fun and just cute and wholesome fantasy romance following a vampire viscount who's extremely anxious and low-key autistic, and a werewolf who is the son of a wolf lord and goes to the vampires island to work as the captain of the guard. And he just came back from a war, and he is now disabled because of a wound that he got in that war. And Ursula, the third character, is something that I cannot tell you, otherwise it will be a spoiler, because it's only revealed at the end. So throughout the book, Ursula is on a magical side quest, kind of, trying to heal magical trees that are very important to the land and the people, and her magic for some reason keeps failing every time, and the trees end up dying. And then we have Vlad, who again is a viscount, and he's always trying to better the lives of the people, both, you know, people and the supernaturals, you know. And then Nathan, the werewolf, as I said, he's disabled after the war, and the weight of his family's expectations for him and for his recovery, very unrealistic expectations, is kind of too heavy, you know, it's weighing down on him. And so he takes the job as a captain of the guard of Vlad's island to kind of escape that situation for a while. The relationship between Nathan and Vlad is just so fantastically done, sorry. It's so well developed. You see the entire progress, you know, they become friends and then slowly it shifts to something else, and you see the entire thing, and it's just perfectly done, and just I love them. This is according to the author, the first book in a series, but we really have no idea, I don't think, of when the other books are gonna come out, but the three of them are gonna become a triad at some point, according to the author. So get on that. And by that I mean you reader, get on to reading it, because it's really fucking good. I really like it. Yeah, next book. Oh, and there's a vlog for this one too. And also there's a novella, but I still haven't read that one because apparently it contains spoilers for book 2, which isn't out yet. So I am still not sure if I'm gonna read it now. But in the novella, the 3 of them are already together, so yeah. Then we have Out on Good Behavior by Dahlia Adler. It's an FF contemporary romance, a sapphic romance, and one of the main characters is pansexual, and the word is on page, which is always a fantastic experience. I read this one for the vlog that I did a long time ago, where I read 3 books with pansexual main characters, and I talk about pansexuality in general and my experiences with it in that vlog, in case you're interested. This tells the story of Frankie. She is usually a no strings attached, one night stand kind of girl, not really interested in the relationship business yet. But then she sets her eyes on Samara, and Samara just happens to be closeted. Samara says that she's willing to come out as long as she is in an actual serious committed relationship with someone. So, you know, she has a reason, I guess, to come out. And Frankie just decides that she's gonna give it a try. You know, she's gonna try it. Frankie is not sure if she's even, you know, able, I guess, to be in a monogamous exclusive relationship. So the 2 of them kind of come to a compromise. Frankie will try this monogamy thing on the down low for 30 days while remaining abstinent, I guess is the word, for Samara and her to get to know each other, and also as this kind of girlfriend test drive to see if Frankie actually wants to give monogamy a go. I'm particularly bad at the synopsis today, but it's gonna be fine. I believe in us. And the reason that they make this deal is, again, so Frankie can see if she's even any good at this thing, while at the same time not throwing Samara's life into upheaval if her answer turns out to be no. It's a nice book. I liked it. The smart is good too, and if you're in the market for something like that, check it out. Next is Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackworth. This is a fantasy book. It's the first in a trilogy, and there's no ship in it as of this first book, which is the only one that I read so far. But I do feel the seeds of a triad, maybe, in this first book. I don't want to get my hopes up, just in case it turns out to be nothing, but like, I feel like, you know. And the main character, Claire, is the one that's pansexual. Well, one of the main characters, but I do feel like she's the main character. And the word pansexual is actually used on page. Again, yay. The main character, Claire, is the head librarian of the Unwritten wing, which is kind of like a neutral space in Hell's Library, which is where all of the unwritten stories go to. So all of the stories and the books that were thought of, you know, authors thought of them, but never wrote them down. All of them go there. I hope that made sense. So she works taking care of the books and repairing them, but also making sure that the characters in those stories never escape. And in case they do escape, then it's her job to follow them wherever it is, to take them and put them back into their books before they meet their authors. At the start of the novel, one such hero, very aptly named hero, escapes his book, and Claire must do her job with the help of her assistant, Brevity, who is a muse, and Leto, who is a minor demon with a very mysterious past. And by mysterious, I mean it's mysterious to him too, because he doesn't remember. At the same time, a fallen angel called Ramiel is after them because he thinks they have the devil's Bible. It's an adventure-filled book that is very much about the journey and not the destination. It feels like a bunch of quests in a video game, and the characters are like building and building and building. It's so good. I found it to be a very unique and fun ride, and I really hope to read the other 2 books soon. Pray for me. Then we have The Mirror Season by Anna Marie McLemore. The main character is pansexual. There's not exactly the word pansexual on page. There's a description of the pansexual flag in the character's room, I think, or in one of her photos, something like that, and a description of her sexuality. And there's a joke that her ex-girlfriend, who is also her best friend, tells about her, which is that she is so queer that even her Dulce is pan, like pan dulce. So, and we also have the confirmation of the author for this one, so it is confirmed. This has a very magical realism feel to it. It's a hard-hitting YA contemporary. We follow a girl called Fiela. She's a Latinx girl who works at her family's pastelaria, and she has this magical gift that she got, I think, from her grandmother or her great-grandmother, something like that. And that is, she can tell just by looking at a person exactly what pastry they need at that moment. It is in a very literal sense, but also in a very figurative, metaphorical, magical sense. Like, oh, if they eat this pastry, it's gonna do this, and that to them, and it's gonna make them happier at this moment. It's a whole thing. I'm explaining it poorly as per usual, but it's really cool. However, she loses her gift after this brutal night where she and this boy named Locke are sexually assaulted at the same party. When she arrives back at school, Locke is there as a new student, and he doesn't seem to remember anything about that night. He doesn't remember any of the details, while she, Fiela, is haunted by everything that happened. Then, just so you could get a better grasp of what goes on in this, I'm gonna read you fuck me sideways, I don't remember words today. I'm gonna read you a passage, yes, from the synopsis of the book. Neighborhood trees vanish overnight, while mirrored glass appears, bringing reckless magic with it. When the boy, Locke, shows up at Fiela's school, he has no memory of that night and no clue that a single piece of mirrored glass is taking his life apart. Fiela decides to help him, which means hiding the truth about that night, because Fiela knows who assaulted her and him, and she knows that her survival and his depend on no one finding out what really happened. So yes, it's very hard-hitting. There are very morally grey, I guess, characters in this, but I would say that they are just complicated characters in a complicated situation, making complicated choices. They are definitely not always right, but the book is written in a way where you can at least understand the logic behind the decision, even if you don't agree with it. The writing is overall very beautiful, though I will say that there seemed to be an overuse, or rather a misuse, of Spanish words in the text. Not in the sense that the meanings were wrong, it just seemed unnatural, the way that it was incorporated. Like, it seemed a bit forced. But at the end of the day, I'm just a Brazilian girl who speaks Brazilian Portuguese and understands Spanish, but like, maybe that's just the way that Latinx kids born and raised in the USA actually talk amongst each other, you know, like Spanglish. So don't take my opinion there for granted. The book explores the trauma of sexual assault very well, in my opinion, and the feelings that come with it too, while at the same time kind of balancing it with hope and just healing. And the food descriptions are also very top-notch, so give it a try. The next one is Get It Right by Sky Killian. I think that's how you say it. It's a very short sapphic contemporary romance, and the love interest is pansexual, and so is her brother-in-law. The two of them are pansexual, and the word is used on page. And the opening quote on the synopsis of the book is, "A butch lesbian paralee, the pretty pansexual nurse who got away. Is this the second chance at a happily ever after?" That's a good hook. So Finn and Vivi, the main character and the love interest respectively, they met in prison where Finn was serving her felony theft, I think, conviction, and Vivi was a nurse. No, not conviction, sorry, her sentence, yes. Finn was serving her sentence for felony theft, and Vivi was a nurse. Repeating myself as always. And it's worth noting here that Finn has chronic migraines, so she's always at the infirmary, but depending on who's working there, she's not taken seriously, but she's constantly at the infirmary, which is why she got to spend so much time with Vivi, the nurse, and Vivi is always fighting the prison system to get her patients adequate care, good care. Anyway, the two of them had this amazing connection. They really liked each other for obvious reasons, you know, one of them being a patient and the other a nurse inside a prison. They didn't do anything about it. Vivi actually quits her job, so she gets away from the situation. And then months later, after Finn gets out of prison, the two of them stumble upon each other again. Sorry, it's the cluttering. It's super sweet. It's also smutty. There are good discussions about abortion and just pro-choice stuff. I like the characters, I liked seeing Finn's support network, and I really liked it. I had a fun time, and I can't wait to read the rest of the books in the series again. Yeah. Next is Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Gailey. This is a Western sci-fi novella, I guess. It's complicated to describe. Esther, the main character, is pansexual, according to the author. It's a near future Western sci-fi-ish novella that takes place in a fascist state. It's heavily implied to be the United States. So the main character, Esther, runs away in order to avoid this marriage that was arranged by her father, and this marriage is between Esther and the former fiance of her best friend. And said best friend was also her secret lover, who had recently been executed for deviance and possession of unapproved materials, aka that gay shit. So at the very beginning of the novel, our girl Esther is just quite hopeless and quite just hurt, really. And she wants not only to escape this marriage, but also to tame herself, to make herself into a good girl, like a proper girl, you know. She wants to fix the supposed wrongness that is inside of her. She just feels like there is something wrong with her for being gay, which is quite sad. And something that I have been through and relate to deeply. Let's not talk about it. And she thinks that the best way to do that is to join the librarians. Again, we have librarians. That is a funny thing to have in a video about books.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Yeah, to join the librarians and surround herself with those upright women. Except, of course, it turns out that they are not quite what Esther expected, as in they are all into that gay shit. They are queer as fuck. This has such a unique narrative voice, in my opinion, and the audiobook was also quite fun. But also keep in mind that I do love me a yeehaw accent, so if you don't, maybe try reading this one with your eyes. I just love the accent. I don't know, it just sounds very musical to me, and the more yeehaw, the better. Anyway, I loved Loved it, and I can't wait to check out more by this author. Then we have This Poison Heart by Colin Byron, and this is a YA urban fantasy, I think. It's fantasy, but I think it's urban fantasy. It's kind of FF, as in, I think we're at the very beginning of a sapphic romance, but it hasn't started yet. Just have to go in my gut. The main character is called Briseis. She has the power to grow and control plants, and she lives in an apartment in New York with her 2 adopted moms who are super cool. One day, out of the blue, she is told that she inherited this huge estate from her unknown birth aunt, because she's adopted, by the way, and she doesn't know her biological family. So when I say this is out of the blue, it's out of the blue. And the mums are super fun characters too. I really like them. And they own a flower shop, which goes super well with the daughter's gift. So the family decide to leave Brooklyn for the summer in order to get acquainted with the property and decide what to do from then on. And there, in the estate, Bree gets the chance to find out more about her powers and to just kind of get more control of her powers, as well as find out more about her birth family, her biological family. And the two things turn out to be a lot more connected than she expected. Trying to be very cryptic here to not give a lot of things away. Now I think I can say a bit more. Yeah, it turns out those powers are a family thing, and Bree's aunt used to make like elixirs and tinctures for the townspeople in an apothecary inside the house. Apothecary. Again, from the synopsis of the book, when strangers begin to arrive on their doorstep asking for tinctures and elixirs, Bree learns she has a surprising talent for creating them. One of the visitors is Marie, a mysterious young woman who Bree befriends, only to find out that Marie is keeping dark secrets about the history of the estate and its surrounding community. There is more to Bree's certain inheritance than she could have imagined, and she is determined to uncover it, until a nefarious group comes after her in search of a rare and dangerous immortality elixir. Up against a centuries-old curse and the deadliest plant on Earth, Bree must harness her gift to protect herself and her family. So yeah, we basically follow Bree as she learns more about her powers and about her lineage, and it's delightful. Next we have a little combo situation. We have Feed, which is a novella, and then its sequel, which is a full-length novel called Yours Insatiably, both by Avida Weiss. And this is a paranormal monster romance. And you know what? I read it, and now I get the monster fucker girlies. Like, I really do. This is between a succubus character and a hawkmoth fae, I think is what they are. Non-binary character that goes by they and he pronouns. Both the main characters are pansexual. I'm pretty sure that the word is used on page, but I don't feel comfortable saying that for sure. Both main characters are pansexual and the female main character is autistic. In fact, I think, I'm not positive, but I do think that all of Avida Weiss's main characters are pansexual, but don't quote me on that. And as I said before, the story starts with a novella, Feed, which is pretty much a straight up smutty good time, and then it continues on the full-length novel Yours Insatiably. Get used to the sound of cicadas for the rest of this video because it's not going anywhere. Avery is a succubus, but since she just looks like a regular whole woman, or at least she is able to pass as a regular whole woman, she hides that from everyone in her day-to-day life, because there are a lot of stigmas that come with being a succubus. You know, people are always objectifying you and sexualizing you and putting you in those stereotypes. And because of that, she is completely detached from the monster world in general. She knows nothing about monster life and monster society, and she uses this app in order to feed. It's a very discreet app that connects her with sex workers that are willing to do that, basically. And those sex workers might be monsters, they might be humans. As far as I remember, it's kind of a randomized thing. And the novella follows one of such scheduled feedings where the person who shows up to offer their services is by the aforementioned Hawkmoth Faye, who also happens to be Avery's infuriating co-worker. And it's just a low-key kinky hate fuck. That's all there is to it. Until there is the full-length novel where the relationship between the two of them is developed. In it, the two of them decide not to cross the line again, and they become tentative friends, and Pi starts introducing Avery to monster society. It's so good. It's such it's a great romance, and the progression of the relationship is so there, and it's so good. It's a good old enemies to friends lovers. Both the novella and the novel are very smutty and smut-filled, sex-filled. But also despite that, the novel is very good at making you feel for these characters and get to know them on a deeper level. And it's very, very good at developing the relationship with each other. It's getting a bit dark. Maybe I should turn on this ring light. Though I never think that it looks good. Maybe this will be today. Or is it? Wow, I look oily. The last book that I bring you today is Count Your Lucky Stars by Alexandra Bellefleur. Bellefleur? Really, give me an answer. You're the one who speaks French.
Bellefleur. Bellefleur.
This is an author sapphic contemporary romance between Olivia, sorry, I almost pronounced it in the way you were doing Brazilian Portuguese. Anyway, it's between Olivia and Frankie. No, not Frankie, Margot. Frankie is in the other one. Olivia and Margot. Focus, bitch. And Margot is the one who is pansexual. I am almost positive that the word pansexual is used on the page. I'm like 99% sure. It's the third book in the, I think it's Written in the Stars trilogy. I'm not quite sure what the name of the series is. But it's the third book, but it can be read as a standalone because all of the books follow different characters in the same group of friends, which is the case for Art and Good Behavior too, I forgot to mention. They were childhood friends, and then when they become teenagers, their relationship starts turning into something else, but for some reason, which I'm not gonna go in detail about because spoilers, it ends up just not working out. So now, years later, Margot is a very no-strings-attached girly, and Olivia was married to a guy and is now divorced, and the two of them haven't seen each other in years. Until one day, Margot is touring a wedding venue with her group of friends because one of the couples is gonna get married, and she stumbles upon Olivia there because Olivia is the wedding planner. Bitch. When I tell you, I would die. And if that wasn't enough, a series of unfortunate events happens the very same day that leaves Olivia without a place to stay, and Margot very kindly offers her her spare bedroom. Their chemistry is still very much alive, and the two of them reconnect and spend more time together and get to know which other as they are now better. And eventually they get to talk about things of the past too, and what the fuck happened for them to not work out the first time. So we have second chance romance, we have mutual pining, we have forced proximity, and so on and so forth. And story goes from there. I'm not gonna lie to you, this did get quite silly and goofy, a little too silly and goofy for my personal taste every now and then. Like, it was done in a way that didn't work out for me personally, but who knows, maybe it will work out for you. I don't even know how to describe it. It got very pantomime-y. Pantomime-y. You know? You got those vibes, like physical comedy, like there's a scene where a cat steals someone's vibrator. Like, it's goofy, it's silly. Maybe being very kind and generous, it would work out in a movie. In my personal opinion, doesn't work out in the book. So yeah, those are the 10-ish books that I have to recommend to you with pansexual main characters. So if you've read any of these books, or if you intend to read them, and if you know of any other books with pansexual main characters, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your opinions and your recommendations. It would be grand. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, comment and subscribe if you feel like it. It does help a lot. And as always, I will see you around.